All right, all right, all right. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? How y'all feeling out here? Everybody feeling
Good.
optimistic, happy about that draft?
A plus. Freaking
I don't know.
awesome draft.
I think it was fine. I don't know about.
Chubb, Cam Smith, Jalen Ramsey, Devin Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jeff Wilson Jr., Elijah Higgins, Ryan Hayes. That sounds like a freaking productive way of using your 8 draft picks. I don't know about you. I mean, and this doesn't even include the idiot owners costing them a first and a third. But if you consider what they did with those 8 selections, I'm calling it a hell of a draft. I'm going to A plus.
Look, here's what where I think I might differentiate from, without naming names, other reporters on this beat. Who everybody's entitled to their opinion. Nobody is right or wrong. This is just where I differ. I didn't see glaring weaknesses for this team entering the draft. When I think glaring weakness, 2020 was a glaring weakness at quarterback. You had to get one. Like, a glaring weakness meant you have to freaking get one, or all hell is breaking loose. You know
Left
what I'm
tackle.
saying? Left tackle. With the tonsil, left tackle, glaring weak. You need it. You need it, or you cannot go forward. You will not have a season, essentially, if you do not address this position.
Center.
I didn't see glaring weaknesses, but I saw areas where they could improve. You needed depth on the offensive line, but we know how this team feels about their offensive linemen, to the point where it shouldn't be a surprise anymore when you don't see them go after every lineman available. You don't see them reaching to add a starting left tackle. They think Austin Jackson is the starter. Whether you agree or not, that is their thought. That is their belief. We shouldn't be surprised by that anymore. They needed depth, though, and they needed depth at cornerback, because as we saw last season, they were this close. They were one more Xavier Howard soft tissue issue away from looking like the Detroit Lions on defense. Like, there was no – it was an emergency. It was an emergency. It was arguably an emergency even with X healthy, because he was playing hurt. I think he has that same –
Didn't they work you out also? They were about to give you a
Chris
contract?
gave me a call. It was like, hey, look, man, we'll keep it quiet. We'll train you a little bit. You look kind of big. What are you 6'2"? It's like, yeah, 6'2", 210. They're like, I got one hit in me. I got one hit. I might be the one getting hit, but I got one hit in me. But like we said, I think it's maybe even fair to say, if X has a similar issue this season, he sits. Not even fair to say. Like, I'm willing to say that. If X has a similar groin injury this year, he sits. If it was like, shit, man, we got Jalen still out. We got Cater. We got Cam Smith. Why am I playing? Like, I'm not playing hurt. He had to play last year. So
I told Poupart, I think Cam Smith is the guy that Fangio looked at and said, I don't really have an outside guy if these guys get injured. I don't think he was convinced with Kohu or Needham coming back from an injury, or even Tro Williams. So Cam is that guy that can play on the outside. And then also you have to plan, because as I've been saying for a year, I told everybody that Byron would get cut this year and X is going to get cut next year. And if you are going to cut X next year, you're going to need his replacement. And you don't draft a replacement that year. You know, that's crazy to just throw the rookie in there. Okay, replace X. Now he gets a whole year to learn the system, play at times, fill in for Ramsey, fill in for X, and then he'll be ready for next year. And I agree with Poupart that maybe Ramsey also at times is going to be moved into the inside at the slot or up against the tight end or something like that. And then that's when Cam Smith will come also off the bench and replace him and play the outside spot. So I think those kind of things could happen.
He played all over the field for the Rams the past couple of years in that like star position. It's matchup based. And while McDaniel and Greer both said, no, we're not moving him to safety, he's a really good corner, we're probably going to see a lot of 5 DB sets under Fangio. there's a lot of opportunities to get on the field, position flexibility and like position fluidity. You're just going to see the best 5 line up there. And I think they're going to be mixed and matched across the field. Like, I don't think it's going to be extreme. I think, we're still going to see, we're not going to see X at safety. We're not going to see Javon at outside corner. But just the areas of the field that they're lined up in, I think they're flexible, they're rotational, they're versatile. So yeah, I once it kind of got over the initial shock, they're like, wow, Darnell Washington fell this far. Oh, okay, they're going corner. Think about it for about 10 seconds and say, yeah, okay, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I said on Twitter the day of the morning of the draft, like, dare I say, running back is on the board. Running back's on the table. They like Devin A-Chain. He looks like a Miami Dolphin on tape. So I'm not surprised at all that they went with him at 84. Besides, I know they re-signed the entire room, but realistically, Ahmed and Gaskin aren't getting touches unless one of those two get hurt, unless one of Mostert and Wilson get hurt. Yeah. They're not really comfortable. They want 3 running backs active.
Gaskin better watch. That's his competition right there. And remember, this guy's also a returner, so it also changes. You got a multifaceted player there, and I think he wants to just continue to add speed out of the backfield. So it's not just Mostert. So if Mostert's a little banged up, you can use A-Chain, or if you want to really freak defenses out, you have Mostert and A-Chain coming out of the backfield with Waddle and Hill. And, brother, that's a foursome that there's no secondary in the world that's going to stay with all 4 guys. It's impossible. Nobody has those 4 guys on defense.
And actually, I just wrote it. I just wrote it today as part of our fantasy preview. It all obviously it hinges on Tua being healthy, but as long as Tua's on the field, everybody is a threat to score. They could put a lineup out there where everybody is a threat to score no matter where they get the ball. I think that's exciting. That's that level of that's the threat that Mike McDaniel wants this offense to turn into. So no, I liked it. And then round 6 and 7, man, I'm not gonna beat the table down, explaining why they took a converted wide receiver, tight end, and an offensive lineman.
I can tell you. I can tell you.
Those are straight pick. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I'm not saying it's a good. I'm saying those are where you're throwing darts at the board, hoping to find a diamond in the rough. I'm not going to overanalyze.
Hold on. Let me tell you what I think he's doing. Hold on a second. All right. So you got your receivers, okay? You got your tight ends in Salbert and obviously Smythe. Those are your blocking tight ends. You have your running backs, and you added A-Chain now to that group. So now you added more speed and another receiver out of the backfield at the same time, because that's also very imperative in this offense. You can run and catch the ball. He's also developing an offline tight end in this offense. Tanner Connor was the experiment last year, and Elijah Higgins is the experiment this year. Elijah will play tight end. He will battle Tanner Connor. He will battle Tanner Connor offline. So Tanner Connor should not be happy about this draft pick. And again, Tanner brings speed. Elijah brings speed to that position. I think what he's trying to do is add speed at all positions, and he's creating a position of an offline tight end. And I think that's what you're seeing in Tanner Connor and Elijah Higgins. 2 guys are going to be battling for a spot, or 2 guys that might be battling for nothing if others are better and nobody shines. But I think he's trying to experiment with an offline tight end.
No, the way I say it, I know what he's going for. I'm not saying these are useless picks, but I am saying that the 2 guys, Smith and A-Chain, they are going to have defined roles. They are on the team. This is happening. There is a concrete plan and an immediate way that they see the field. Right. Higgins and Hayes,
experiments.
Again, you hope they make the roster. They've got some traits. You hope they make the roster. That's it. Where it's not worth being angry about, what position they did or didn't address in the 6th or 7th round when you have 4 picks at this point. Again, like I said, you're throwing darts at the board. We want this guy to be an offline tight end. I hope it translates. It's a hard position to learn in the league. It's a hard thing to do for So like we'll see, but we'll see. Minicamp starts. Oh man, next weekend I think the
Next
12th,
weekend.
12th to 13th, 12th to 13th. We'll get a little better idea. We'll get a little better idea.
Will you?
First,
Will you? Poopar says that's the one that you only get to see them stretch. You don't really get to watch the practice.
I thought we see all of rookie minicamp. I've only done one here, but in my experience covering the NFL, I have always watched the entire rookie practice because we talked about it last year, and I said nobody's necessarily going to stand out and wow you. You're not going to say this guy is going to be a legit star off of rookie camp, but you can tell the guys who can't play. You can always tell who is not going to play based on rookie minicamp. If guys if they look like they belong, then I'm not going to write them off. But you can tell. I guess I always say Will Greer, quarterback for the Panthers. Watched him during rookie minicamp and knew right away.
Yeah.
No. So we'll see where he's at. But like OTA start on I think it's May 23rd. We get one or two of them before the end of the month. Then minicamp starts early June. Like we will get an idea. Obviously, like pads aren't going on until end of July at this point.
Yeah.
So like we still got a long time before anybody can say anything definitively good about people, but like we'll get an idea. Like we are slowly dipping our toes back into real football.
Did you get any dirt on any of the undrafted free agents? I know it's really hard to get anything positive out of those kids, but did you ask around and get anything from any of those guys?
No, I like the kid from the kid from Illinois State. It's like Valkenburg, I want to say. Valkenburg comments. Somebody clean me up there. I think he's highly
Zeke Vandenberg,
highly productive in college. I think productivity can translate when traits don't. So like I'm excited to see what he's able to do. Beyond that, I can't outright say that there's a Cater Kohu or Nick Needham in this class, but I'm willing to give Chris Greer the benefit of the doubt that there is. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
You know that by the end of training camp, we're going to say, hey, the one or two of these kids are going to shine. I'm already counting on it now. Like that's kind of how it's turned out every year now, that I'm counting on one or two undrafted free agents to catch my eye.
Exactly. So like I said, I can't my plebeian brain cannot pick out who the guy is going to be based on, their college tape. I might have a better idea starting next weekend. I might have a better idea by mid-June, but at this point, I'm willing to give Chris Greer the benefit of the doubt. He's done it. He's done it before. He's done it again. I'm sure he will do it again.
I'll tell you what, the Aubrey Miller kid is freaking inspirational. Okay. I don't know if you watched any of the film, any of the stuff that is out there of Aubrey Miller, the kid from Jackson State that went with that was in Dion's school.
Yeah.
And that kid's inspirational, bro. Like that's one of those kids that you like root for. Like you want him, to succeed because you can tell he's got dog in him. The question is now he's going up to, an incredible level from Jackson State, but he shined at HBCUs. So he shined at that level.
He's used to winning.
My favorite player of all time in the history of the NFL comes from Jackson State. His name is Walter Payton. So, it's possible.
I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. I don't think that, obviously those schools, they go under the radar. They are underfunded. They're underappreciated. They're underdrafted. We saw how upset that Dion is at the fact that only one player was drafted this year from an HBCU.
He's the only one that can fight for them, bro. He's the only one that they'll quote.
That's what I like. I'm not mad.
You know what I mean? Another coach in that conference says it. The quote doesn't carry any weight. It's that's the other thing that I don't think people appreciate what Dion has meant for HBCUs and how he's brought them more attention. And he's the only person that fights for them publicly that has weight. You know what I mean? Because they haven't had a lot of people in the world that carry weight, that can fight, and can stand up for them, can send their message out there. Dion's been the only guy in my lifetime. Eddie Robinson was one guy that at least the world gravitated to. And once we lost Eddie Robinson, really it's been Dion since.
That's why, like, I wasn't mad at him for leaving Jackson State. He's doing what any coach ever has done, which is move to a better job. And, like, respectfully, Colorado being a P5 institution is a better job. This is not NCAA 13 on PS2 or PS3. Like, he's not turning the SWAC into the Mountain West. Like, it wasn't happening. But what he did do, he got them on the map. He made people pay attention to him. Now we're seeing HBCU combine since he started. Like, he brought a world of attention onto this conference. He put his own money into it. Now it balls in their court now. What are they going to do from there? What are they going to do without him?
Right.
Like, balls in their court. But,
and by the way, the NFL should invest in it, because you're going to unearth talent anyways. And since you're not mining that talent enough as it is, and so there are young men that are falling by the wayside, and it's because you're not giving them an opportunity. You know what I mean? We're watching the WNBA grow at levels that none of us really ever expected women's basketball to grow. I don't know if you did you see the new Las Vegas Aces all women's basketball facility? Did you see it?
Yeah, it looked like, is it over there near like the Raiders facility? It looked like the Raiders facility.
But it's badass, bro. Like, this is the kind of shit that we never expected. But that's because if you don't give them the opportunity to grow, then it'll never grow in itself, and it'll never grow on us as fans. You know what I mean? Because you got to win us over in order for that to succeed. And for HBCUs, well, dude, you're going to have to put them on TV so then people can see them. And NFL teams are going to have to start, recruiting there and trying to find players out of there, unearth talent, because as you start unearthing talent from there, then you'll start to draw attention from fans. You know what I mean? Just like if this linebacker, Aubrey Miller, has success for the Dolphins, then Aubrey starts to open up the door and eyes from other people and say, hey, let me go look at some of these other schools. Are there other players like Aubrey that we can bring in? But, nothing happens until you give people an opportunity, man.
That's it. I was kind of I don't remember the full story over at Bethune-Cookman. Was it Bethune-Cookman, right? They tried to hire Ed Reed.
Yes.
And their facilities had like asbestos and rats all in them and trash everywhere. And like, at some point, like, HBC, you got to help yourself. You have to invest. But like, I understand that there are limited funds. And so it's hard to invest millions of dollars into a program when you only have X amount of money to begin with. And ultimately, you are an institute of higher learning. The learning has to take precedence over the athletics. I understand that. But, it is kind of like, it was embarrassing, and it was a bad look for everybody involved. Ed Reed's rant on social media and the state of those facilities that we saw on the video. But like, that's kind of stuff can't happen. Like, so like, everybody involved has to be in 100%, because the NFL is not going to half-ass it. They're not going to half-ass their support. But I personally appreciate Dion. He did what he said he was going to do. He didn't say he was going to be there for the rest of his life, but he said, I'm going to help put this school on the map. I am now moving from HBCU talk. I'm very curious to see, is he a good coach? Because I think why he won in the SWAC is like, you're Deion Sanders, and the best talent now, whose cap is that level, is now going to come to play for you.
Right.
What are you going to do at Colorado? Because you got about
everybody else, everybody else is getting your kind of talent in Colorado everywhere else. Whereas in Jackson State, you were getting talent that was superior to everybody else. So I get what you're saying. Yeah. This is definitely going to be a test for him. But by the way, the other thing, not only was he bettering himself like anybody else in a job, he also is a custodian to the other men that are coaching with him, that are not named Deion Sanders, that probably don't have his bank account. and they are looking to better themselves and their families. So when he went to Colorado, it wasn't just for him. Really, it's more for his assistant coaches because Dion has his money, bro. He made his money. He's still making money. He's making Aflac money and all kinds of shit. So he's got plenty in the bank. But what he did moving to Colorado was he bettered the lives of his entire coaching staff, bro. And that's super important. That's the part that you can't, that's your responsibility too, is the people that are working for you. And that's, you got to give them props for that because that's
you got to do right by it. You got to do right by the people who
got it right,
because you're not doing this by yourself.
No, man, no. And those people need to make a living too. And unfortunately, at Jackson State, you weren't going to make the assistant coaches were never going to make, the kind of money that they need in order to really take care of their family. So I completely understand. All right, are they done? What's I told Poupart I think Fleming's the next guy. I don't think it's Luan. I think it's Fleming because he can swing. Luan is just a left tackle, and he's got a really strong injury history lately. I don't know if you really want to take that chance. It kind of reminds me of the Fisher guy last year. Hell, he got injured before he even could play. You know what I mean? And I kind of worry about that. I think it's going to be Fleming.
Yeah, I don't know if Luan is willing to move to right tackle or not. I think that somewhere out there, a team's going to pay him play his desired position. I don't know how much money he wants. And like you said, he has not been healthy or effective for the past 3 or 4 seasons. He's either been suspended, healthy or unhealthy, injured. It's the easier way to say that, or ineffective. Like it's a name, and you don't pay big for names.
No.
That's why we didn't see a big trade for Dalvin Cook this weekend. You don't pay big for names. Although I will say, Jeremy Fowler said it on SportsCenter. He texted me about it as well this weekend. They were in the conversation. They'd reached out about DeAndre Swift.
Sure, but Greer, he reached out for low-hanging fruit. Oh,
remember what I said?
There's no low-hanging fruit. I'm not interested.
Remember what I said a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Tua considering retirement? I said Chris Greer can have a conversation about a trade on the phone, and as soon as he realizes, oh yeah, no, I don't want to do that, hang up. Technically, he was considering it, but it wasn't actually going to happen. Like it wasn't it wasn't like, oh, this is this close. Oh, it almost like he did his job as a GM. They knocked on the door. I think Eagles got him for a 4th round pick. The Dolphins don't have a 4th round pick, and I don't think they're really interested in trading future capital right now. Actually, I don't even think they have a 4th rounder next year.
$10 million salary, bro. They're not paying $10 million to a running back. So if Cook wants to make up for the money that he's going to lose in Minnesota, he's not going to make up for it here. If he wanted to take like $3 million, $3.5 million or something, and Chris Greer's just picking him up off street free agency, fine. Or maybe give up a 7th round pick or something, fine. But he's not paying any kind of big salary for Dalvin Cook, and he's certainly not paying any kind of high draft pick for Dalvin Cook. That's just the way.
Ooh. No, they have a 4th rounder next year. They don't have a 3rd rounder. Damn, that punishment was steep, man.
Terrible, bro.
The punishment, but I always said they weren't getting punished for tampering. They were getting punished for tampering and tanking. Now, the NFL might have come out and said, we didn't find evidence of tanking. They didn't. But they basically affirmed everything Flores alleged. They basically said, yeah, he was telling the truth. They weren't tampering, though. It was like that Rick James skit on Dave Chappelle. Man, I didn't grind my feet into his couch. I never just did shit for nothing. I have more sense than that. Yeah, I remember grinding my mud into his couch. Like, what are you talking about? Everybody was so like, yeah, I told you Brian Flores was lying. And that's how I could tell who did not read the damn investigation notes. That's how I could tell who didn't read it. Because they said everything he alleged was true. He did offer you $100,000. He did meet with Tom Brady. He did offer like everything was true. But with the league that started to do more business with sports books and sports betting, they can't have a team be found guilty of tanking. Like right. They are cracking down hella hard on this. That's why guys who are betting on college games from in the facility are getting 6-game freaking bans because the NFL can't have the integrity of the game in question with billions of dollars at the table. So this punishment wasn't just for tanking. It was also for tampering. I wouldn't be shocked if under the table they're like, look, we'll publicly say you weren't guilty, but we both know you did that shit. So you're going to give us a first round pick this year. You can give us a third rounder next year. You can give us a $1.5 million or whatever the hell Stephen Ross was a 1.5 million. I think Bruce Bill was another 500,000. Like that doesn't even sound right for as a punishment for tampering for a player you didn't even get. Like,
right.
Not getting him is essentially the punishment. Like getting caught cheating and not succeeding is the public humiliation of that is a punishment all in itself. They needed to do all that for just tampering. No, like that was a double punishment disguised as something else.
All right, before I let you go, are you expecting anything else at tight end?
Like what? Like no. I think these are their tight ends. I think these are their tight ends. I don't think there's anything else out there available. Obviously, they tried to trade for Darren Waller a couple years ago. It didn't happen. There is no other tight end on the market that I'm aware of. So this is it. It's Smythe. It's Smythe. Smythe is your guy. I think Smythe is going to get lion's share of the snaps here. I don't know who he's going to split with. I'm actually trying to rack my head because I know there's a tight end that I'm forgetting about between Smythe and Tanner Connor. It's not Seeping Carter.
Right. Well, Salbert is the other guy that's there, and then Higgins.
That's the one, Salbert.
Salbert and Higgins are there, so it'll be a competition with the other two guys, and Salbert will be backing up Smythe. What do you got going on ESPN so folks can check you out?
Going over the draft class, guys to watch. I'm still learning about these guys' backgrounds. I'm just trying to find some human interest things that are just football related, help get people know these guys on a human level. Looking forward to getting these guys, like I said, not this weekend, but next weekend. And then we got F1. So I'm barricading my car and making sure I don't touch traffic this week. Good luck to everybody who takes 95 in the turnpike this weekend. Just remember last year, it took a cool hour and a half to get to and from Edgewater and Miami Gardens each way. So
US 1, bro. Go US 1, go 27th Avenue. Be creative. Don't go on 95. That'll be a big-ass parking lot. Follow him on Twitter at Marcel_LJ and catch his work there at ESPN. Marcel, we will catch up later on in the week, my friend. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.